You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Manfred Man Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the Giants fall to the Braves 1-0 in a pitcher's duel that lived up to the hype as Blake Snell and Chris Sale combined for 23 strikeouts, 0 runs, and just 5 hits. This one came down to one simple thing. The Braves' situational hitting was ever so slightly better than the Giants. As a sac fly in the 10th scored the only run of the game. And I got to say, man, what an absolutely terrible way for a game like this to end. The Manfred Man might be my least favorite thing in all of baseball. The Giants had a couple of chances in this one, but again, couldn't come up with a hit when they needed it most. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate it. And make sure to tune in to the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Ben Kaspick does a great job. Today's episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, h-vac, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. The Giants, man, They had a nice homestand so far. We didn't have a show during the Tigers series, and the Giants went 2-1. You know, they're over 500, and they're at home winning on a homestand. And they're enter this series, this 4-game series, a game and a half out of the last wild card spot, and they're playing the team that holds that spot, the Atlanta Braves. So safe to say, this is the most important series of the season to this point so far. And in the first inning, bottom of the first, the Giants had an opportunity to get on the board early, and they didn't do it. They Fitzgerald lead off. We can't call it a double because it was an error, but a little pop fly into shallow center that was overran by the Braves center fielder, and Fitzgerald ends up getting a second on the play with nobody out. Then Mark Canha singles and sends Fitz to third. I thought it would have been really, tough to send him on that play. Would have taken a lot of cojones to do that, but it wouldn't have been the smart play. So I'm not saying that Matt Williams should have sent him from third base, but especially with nobody out in that inning yet, and Ramos and Chapman coming up next. But man, for Ramos and Chapman to both strike out with runners at the corners in the top of the first and nobody out, and then Encarnacion to ground out to end the inning, that kind of, I didn't know how many opportunities we were going to see against Chris Sale to get runs. The way that this guy's been pitching all year, got to capitalize immediately. And especially if it's in the first inning, like, you got to jump on this guy when you get the opportunity to. Maybe he starts pressing and walking some guys, and the Giants weren't able to do that. And it really was the difference in this one. If they were able to score that run, this whole game goes differently. We don't even get to extras, and the Giants likely win this one. With the way Blake Snell was pitching, with the way the bullpen came in on fire, and I mean, credit the Braves. They were doing the same thing. I mean, their bullpen looked great. Their starting pitcher today, Chris Sale, looked amazing. I mean, Chris Sale, what a crazy story too, for him to be able to regain form at this point in his career with as many injuries as this guy has had. He's electric to watch. And as I said, this pitcher's duel lived up to every bit of the billing tonight. Both guys had swing and miss stuff working big time for them. Chris Sale had a swing and miss percentage around 33% of the time. He had 19 swings and misses. Blake Snell, he was doing the same thing. He had 18 swings and misses, 37% swing and miss rate. So both of these guys out there doing what they do best, getting strikeouts. Snell had 11, Sale had 12. Both dudes barely gave up any hits. Sale gave up 3 hits. Snell gave up 2. Sale also didn't walk anybody. 0 walks. Giants could not do anything to get on base against this guy. And Randy Rodriguez came in and did a good job once Snell came out in the 7th inning. Snell went 6.1 innings. Sale, 7 innings of work. Snell also walked three guys, but obviously pitched around it, didn't give up any runs. Neither starter gave up any runs. Randy Rodriguez also bailed out Blake Snell there in that seventh inning with two very, very key strikeouts. And the Giants bullpen kept doing their jobs, but that Manfred Man in the extra innings, man, in the 10th inning, that was the big difference in this one. Was the Braves got their base hit when the Manfred Man was on base, and the Giants couldn't get one of their base hits when the Manfred Man was on base. And I really hate that is the thing that decides this game. We should have had like some grand ending to this. We should have seen a team like force their way to a win. I wanted to see one team break the other team's pitching staff, and that just straight up didn't happen tonight. Like, I'm not going to say that Taylor Rogers had a bad night because he gave up a single and a fly ball to Mike Yastrzemski. I mean, for you to be able to lose a game on just one hit, I mean, if that hit's not over the fence, like, I don't want that to happen. And I mean, if you had to draw some walks or if the other team kicked the ball around and made some errors, that's different than this. Like, you did not have to really put in any effort to get that runner into scoring position. None, literally. You just had to start the inning and you get a runner on second base. And I know the Giants had the same opportunity. I am well aware. I'm just saying, across all of baseball, this should not be the way that we as baseball fans should have to watch the end of a game. Like, I know that it's a Monday night. It's 9:46 p.m. as on the Pacific Coast as we're recording this podcast. But why? Who's got a problem with this going a little bit later? I mean, I certainly don't. I would much rather see some big climactic ending where one team like finally breaks open and gets a triple in the gap, and then they somehow get the run in. Like, that would be fine. If the Giants lose that way, then you got beat, and you take your L, you go home, you come back the next day, and you try to win that one. But this is just lame, man. Like, I can't think of another word for it other than just flat out lame. And I mean, it fits well because Rob Manfred might be the lamest dude in all of baseball and all of sports. And, with the worst rule that I've ever heard of in my life as far as baseball rules go. I mean, the Manfred Man has frustrated me since it came into existence. And this is why, man, because you have games that are being decided over singles. A single should not be the difference in this one with absolutely nothing leading up to it. Like, that's complete crap. I really hate to say it, but it is. And I know I'm going to sound like I'm just complaining and moaning about another Giants loss to a large portion of the people watching this show. But I mean, man, it really frustrates me to see a bullpen go out there and shut a team down the way the Giants bullpen did. For a starting pitcher to go out and shut down an opponent the way that Blake Snell did. And for you to, I mean, be penalized just because you're in extra innings is beyond me. I get that both teams have the same chances to score, but I just don't think a base hit, one single, should be the difference in this one. That should not be enough to be the deciding factor in a 9+ inning baseball game. It just shouldn't. We shouldn't be forcing this game to a conclusion. Why can't we just play out the game and see how it goes? Give these guys their due and let these pitchers keep doing their thing, because that was really fun. And I know a lot of people just want to see home runs and cricket numbers and all that. And maybe I'm the last of a dying breed, I guess. But seeing two starters go out there and combine for 23 Ks, that's nuts, man. In 7 innings of work, in 6 and a third and 7 innings of work, respectively, between Snell and Sale, that is super impressive. That is super fun to me. I don't understand why we can't just enjoy a pitcher's duel nowadays. We got to figure out how to end the game as soon as possible, and it just doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't. The runtime of this game was sub 3 hours. Like, I mean, we had no reason to rush on out of here as quick as we did in this one. And it's a bummer the Giants lost. That's a big deal, like the loss itself, because the loss brings them down to 61-60. They were a game and a half behind the Braves entering this one. Now with the loss, they're 2.5 games behind the Braves. They got 3 left to play in this series. Now you got to win all 3 if you want any hope of catching this team by the end of this one. And you need all the wins you can get. bare minimum, you have to win 2 of the next 3. You cannot lose this series at home to the Braves. This is the most important series of the season so far. I mean, we'll be saying that a lot in these next coming 2 months as every game matters more than the last. But right now, this series means a whole heck of a lot, and it could have a lot of impact later on in the season when it comes to tiebreakers. So the Giants absolutely need to, at bare minimum, split this series and see if they can come up with something from this homestand. You got off to a nice start with the 2 games to 1 over the Tigers. Would have been really nice for them to sweep the Tigers too, and they had an opportunity yesterday. I'm going to let you guys, I always pull back the curtain on the personal life a little bit. Over the weekend, I went to my last musical adventure of the summer. Went to the Outside Lands Music Festival. It's walking distance from my house. Had to go, but I'm checking in on my Giants while I'm there. So I'm at the music festival having a great time. I pulled up the Giants on my cell phone on the YouTube TV app just in time to see them put a bunch of runners in scoring position in the 8th inning and fail to drive them in. And for them to start this game the same way that they left off that last game, frustrating, man. Absolutely frustrating. This team went 2 for 5 with runners in scoring, that was the Braves. The Braves 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The Giants 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. And that one extra hit the Braves had was really the difference. It's really the only difference in this one. Tough way for this one to end, man. I mean, I want to see this play out. I feel like we got robbed of what could have been a very, very, very memorable ending for this game. Instead, Manfred Man is the deciding factor, and the Giants lose 1-0. We got to take a quick break in this one. On the other side, we got a lot more to break down. Snell, amazing game for Blake Snell. He's just been absolutely on fire since he came back from his last stint on the injury list. Blake Snell, Chris Sale. I'm mixing the names up, man. Like the short first name and the S last name. The dyslexia is coming out. So Chris Sale shuts down the Giants. We'll take a look at what he did today. And obviously, this must-win series is massive. And we got to talk a little bit about the guy who made the last out in this one, Pat Bailey, man. What is going on with this guy? Well, stay tuned. We'll break it all down on the other side of the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is jam-packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. And talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today the Giants lose 1-0 in what I think was a very lame ending to this game, because I don't think anyone really wants to see games end because the team gets an automatic runner at second base and one team was able to get a single and the other one wasn't. For that to be the deciding factor in a pitcher's duel that was this close, where the margins were this tight, it just doesn't sit right with me. It just really doesn't. It really doesn't. And I know the Giants had every opportunity to score their own ghost runner at second base, but in a game where base hits were at a premium, it just doesn't feel right that is the deciding factor. I would like to see it. I mean, we could just go back to the normal way of playing baseball, where you just keep playing baseball the way it's normally played until somebody wins. That's kind of, just maybe I'm just living in the past, but that's what I would prefer. But one thing that really stood out to me today was the continued struggles of one Patrick Bailey. And he came up in the 10th inning, in the last of the 10th, with an opportunity to be the hero and to drive in a run. and he couldn't do it. I mean, it wasn't just him in that inning. Luciano and Mike Yastrzemski preceded him with strikeouts. So it was all on Bailey's shoulders, and he couldn't get it done. But this guy is in the middle of a big-time slump. I mean, his road trip, he was terrible. I think he maybe had one hit in that entire last road trip, maybe two. He was rarely getting on base. Today, man, he can't buy a hit. He just can't buy a hit. 0 for 4 again with 2 more strikeouts. And Pat Bailey now on this homestand. He came in today. I mean, this dude has not had a home run since last month on the 10th. It's been over a month. He was 0 for 8 against the Tigers throughout that whole series. Yesterday, he went 0 for 4. He hasn't had a hit in 5 games now. I mean, it's a bad stretch for Pat Bailey. And we saw this happen last year as well. And the Giants said a lot about how they were going to avoid that this year. They went out and got Tom Murphy as the backup guy for Pat Bailey in an attempt to maybe spell him a little bit more often. And he's obviously been hurt for the vast majority of the season. The Giants also went and got Curt Casali so that they could spell him after Murphy was injured. And Casali hasn't really been super serviceable. He's done his job defensively. Some days there's been timely hitting, but overall we know what Curt Casali is, and he gives you a lot less than Pat Bailey does on the offensive side of the plate. And I mean, Pat Bailey and Curt Casali, both pretty good defensive catchers. Pat Bailey also obviously has one of the best pop times in all of baseball. I mean, gunning out runners at second base like it's nobody's business. And he's a great framer as well. He could use some work with the blocking, and Casali might have a slight edge on him for that one. But don't tell that to Pat Bailey today and all the Scud missiles he had to stop from Blake Snell, because, man, he got his money's worth back there tonight. But, man, Pat Bailey at the plate, he's now dipped below 240 for the batting average on the season. He's batting 238 now. That OPS sitting at 654. That's not very good. And we need to figure out a way that this guy can stay productive later into the season, because this is about the same time last year that this guy fell off a cliff. In the last month and a half of the season of last year, he really just, he was okay defensively, but he just looked battered. He looked slow. He looked like he was beat up on his swings. You could see that the legs weren't really involved. That lower half isn't getting around. And it looks a lot like that right now, too. Looks like a lot of arm swings up at the plate. And even when he makes contact, it's not very hard. And as I said, we haven't seen a home run from this guy in over a month. And when Bailey has hit the ball hard, he has had some bad luck, too. I can remember a few at-bats in the last road trip where he really squared up some balls and they just went to the wrong space at the wrong time. And I remember one specific 114-mile-an-hour shot that went to short. And Pat Bailey hasn't just been not hitting the ball hard, but it's been a collection of the entire body of work has dipped. And that's the same thing that we've seen in his one prior season. So this is a problem for the Giants. This is a very key contributor for this team. And when he's slumping, it puts a lot of pressure on a lot of other guys in this lineup. And it doesn't look good when the two, your 3-4 hitters today, Chapman and Ramos, each 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. The hat trick for each of them. Mike Yastrzemski also 3 strikeouts. He at least had one of the Giants' 3 hits today. But when you only manage 3 base runners in a game, it's really tough to win. And it means that those at-bats with runners in scoring position, if you get them, matter a lot more. The Giants got 8 of them, and they only got 1 run in. That's a problem. You had so many strikeouts with runners in scoring position in the first inning. You had Ramos and Chapman both whiff on go down swinging on pitches when you had a runner at third base and nobody out. You have to be able to find a way to get that run in. And Ramos, he still can't handle that high fastball. He's still having issues with it. And the thumb is supposedly better. Maybe it's still having problems, but that high fastball is still an issue for Ramos, regardless of if he has the thumb injury or not. That high fastball is hard for him to hit, and he's shown that again tonight, whatever you want to call it. And Matt Chapman also did not have a great day as well. As I said, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. it's tough sledding when this offense doesn't hit, and it's been happening a lot lately that this offense has not hit. Over the Tigers series, they did an okay job scoring runs. Even in that game they lost, they still scored 4. But you knew runs were going to be at a premium today, and the situational hitting is still a massive problem for this team. It's one that you're going to have to solve if you want to be a playoff team. Playoff teams know how to get that runner in from third with less than less than 2 outs, let alone with no outs. And the Giants couldn't do it today. I back and forth every day wonder if this team is a playoff team. One series they'll make me believe, the next I'm out on them. And so far, I mean, they beat, at least since the All-Star break, for the most part, they're beating teams that they should beat. They're having a harder time with teams that are better teams, and the Braves are a better team than what the Giants have been beaten up on lately. They're certainly a better team than the Tigers, and they're playing like it right now. So the Giants lose this one 1-0. Blake Snell and Chris Sale both have phenomenal days, but the Giants just can't do it as they fall 1-0 in extra innings. And tough loss. I really hate the Manfred Man. I've said it all podcast long, but I'm saying it again. I really hate this Rob Manfred runner on second base. It drives me insane. We're going to take a quick break here. On the other side, we're going to talk about Blake Snell and Chris Sale's day and a little bit more from this game. Giants fall 1-0 at Oracle Park in the first game of a 4-game series against the Braves. This is the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? With Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases, so you can spend more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from grocery stores to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add the offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and so much more. It's time you joined the over 50 million users who already use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta with the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Today's show is also sponsored by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the NBA and NHL have wrapped up, we get fewer and fewer games. And the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going all summer long whenever I want it. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Today, the Giants fall 1-0 to the Atlanta Braves in a pitcher's duel that, I mean, Blake Snell and Chris Sale were both absolutely dominant. This one ended up going extras, and you know, in extra innings this year, the Giants, they've been okay. It's been up and down this year. It's been kind of tough for the Giants to score runs late in games. It seems like, I mean, they were so good at doing this early in the season, and lately it seems like they've been just having a harder time doing it. They're 6-5 now, 6-6. They were 6-5 coming into this one, but now 6-6 this season in extra inning games. So it's been a mixed bag from this team. It's been up and down. Early in the season, they seemed like they couldn't lose in extra innings. Lately, it's been a little bit of a different story. And I'm not going to blame the bullpen. As I said, this bullpen was pretty good. Taylor Rogers did end up with a loss in this one. But mean, dude only gave up one hit. He gave up a single, he had a strikeout, and he gave up a sac fly. I mean, that should not be the end of the world for somebody, but we got to reflect on what Blake Snell and Chris Sale did today a little bit, because that was really the story of this game, was how dominant these two guys are coming into this matchup. And I mean, Blake Snell, his dominance is a little more recent than Chris Sale's. Chris Sale has been doing it all season long. Today, Chris Sale did a lot of work with that slider against the Giants. He threw it 63 times. That was 59% of the pitches that he threw. And on that pitch, he had a 38% swing and miss rate. And he was getting a lot of called strikes too. He had 12 called strikes with that pitch. So he was able to locate it really well and get a lot of swings and misses. So the slider was really what was doing damage for him on the hill today. Threw the fastball 28% of the time, about 30 times. So Chris Sale really going fastball slider combo. Meanwhile, Blake Snell doing his usual thing where he just mixes and matches. He had through 49 four-seamers, 39 curveballs, and 17 changeups. I mean, he generated a lot of swings and misses. Again, as I said earlier in the show, 18 total swings and misses for Blake Snell, with about a 37% whiff rate, which is right in line with what he's been doing this season. 36.1% average whiff rate per game for Blake Snell, which is the top 2% of pitchers in all of baseball. I mean, he's been dominant. He's been dominant, and his ERA, by the way, is sub-4. Not just since a certain date, but like for the season. Blake Snell, who started off the year just absolutely horrendous and had an ERA up around 12 for a little while, that ERA is now down to 3.91. So I mean, that should tell you how dominant this guy has been. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys that a no-hitter is good. He threw one of those recently. I mean, he's been pitching a little bit deeper into games than he usually does. We've seen him in the seventh inning a handful of times already in the second half of the season. I think he might already have pitched in the seventh inning close to the amount of times he did last year. I'm going to have to check in on that. But we're seeing Blake Snell at his best right now. And the one thing that this team needs to start doing is playing all facets of the game at the same time. I mean, we've been talking about this, ad nauseum on this show. This team cannot put it all together. They either have the pitching and they don't have the hitting, or they don't have the defense, or they have the defense and the pitching, and the hitting just comes up a little short, or the hitting and the defense is there, but the pitching just doesn't get it done. And they're lacking one of the phases every day. Today, they couldn't hit, and we're going to, I think the offense deserves a little bit of a pass, a little bit, not a big one, because you still could have done some other things like working some walks. You could have played some small ball. You could have laid down some bunts. Could have got a sac fly in that first inning. That's all you really needed to do. But nonetheless, they're not able to do that. And they faced one of the toughest pitchers in all of baseball, a Cy Young candidate, Chris Sale today. So you can't really fault the offense entirely for that one. But I just want to see this team play complete baseball, man. And I think that this is the difference between a playoff team and not a playoff team, is the Giants are so close to being there, but they just can't push over the hump when they need to. I mean, think of all of the during the World Series runs, during their playoff runs in the 2010s, they were able to come up big in these clutch moments, in these key moments, especially once the calendar turned to August and September. This Giants team just doesn't seem to have that spark, that magic in them that all those even year teams did back in the 2010s for the Giants. This just feels different, man. It's not, the vibe isn't vibing the same. And as much as I think this pitching staff is pretty dominant, and this bullpen has a lot of good arms, we also missed the Camilo Doval getting sent down to AAA while we were gone. That was some big news for the Giants. I did not see that coming. I mean, I had said on the show prior to him being sent down that I thought Ryan Walker would be the guy to pitch the ninth in the next outing, but I did not see Camilo Doval getting sent down to AAA. That absolutely blew my mind. I really, truly wonder if that guy will ever be the same again mentally. I mean, the effect that something like that can have on a guy who is such a guy who's lost in his mind in so many instances out there on the field. You can see it. I mean, I don't know how a guy like that starts to overcome all those mental hurdles that are now going to be in place after he went back down to AAA. That's going to be something tough for Camilo Doval, but for the Giants as a whole, I think they are going to be okay without Camilo Doval on the back end of that bullpen. They have so many options that they can turn to late in games. Ryan Walker in the ninth I'm fine with that. I think Randy Rodriguez is a decent arm that you can use at the end of games too, a high leverage arm with really, really electric stuff. He's only going to get better. Tyler Rogers and Taylor Rogers both having really good seasons. And I mean, I don't know about Randy Rodriguez in the ninth, but you can move him into a more prominent setup role than he's been seeing, as we kind of saw today. Was the first arm out of the pen in the seventh inning when Snell ran into some trouble. So the bullpen really did their job too. The only hit, well, they gave up 2 hits. Ryan Walker gave up a hit, but really Taylor Rogers giving up a hit, one single should not be the difference in this one, as it was with the Braves winning 1-0 as the Manfred Man scores on a sac fly after a single moved him over to third in the top of the 10th for the Atlanta Braves, and the Giants couldn't get their run in. Pat Bailey, Mike Yastrzemski, Marco Luciano all failed to drive him in, and that was all she wrote for the Giants in this one. They wasted a 6 1/3 inning outing from Blake Snell, in which he only gave up 2 hits, no runs, and fanned 11. It doesn't matter. Chris Sale was just ever so slightly better. 7 innings for Sale, gave up 3 hits, but 12 strikeouts and no walks. Giants lose 1-0. Back at it tomorrow. They got 3 more against the Braves, and we'll be coming to you live after each and every one of those. So make sure you tune in to the Locked On Giants postcast. And as for now, that's all the time we got for you guys today. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.